Welcome to the third installment of my competitive team breakdown. In previous episodes, I covered the Control Warlock and the Grace Warlock, but now we're going to focus in on the Wraith Hunter. The purpose of the Wraith Hunter is to be a Slayer and to bring a roaming super to the table. Being able to move around while your super is active is very useful for putting pressure on your enemies no matter where they are on the map. Roaming supers are very popular right now because they're very difficult to shut down, even with shutdown supers. When the power balance between roaming and shutdown supers is right, you'll see a good mix of the two, but if you were, for instance, to run 4 roaming supers, then they would be at the mercy against 4 shutdown supers. However, in today's meta, running 4 roaming supers actually gives you more mileage than a mix of the two, and that's just a case of the balance. But with this specific team composition, you have a Catalyst super, a Support super, a Roaming super, and a Shutdown super. A good mix of everything, and I actually do think that it edges out 4 roaming supers. Not to mention, on top of that slight advantage over 4 roaming supers, this team actually has the ability to stop supers with their neutral game. It's actually one of 3 ways to accomplish this, the other 2 being suppressor grenades and the Izanagi's Burden exotic sniper rifle. Specifically, what I'm referring to is the Lunafaction boots on the Grace Warlock. The empowering Lunafaction riff can be applied to any of the 4 members. I'll cover this a lot more in depth in the 5th episode of this series, but all you have to know is that if an empowering Lunafaction rift is down, it improves the range of the weapon and improves the damage. So the Control Warlock's Tatara Gaze will headshot supers to death. The Grace Warlock's Wishbringer can dump an entire magazine into a super way out of its intended range and pick up a kill. The same can be said about the Chaperone, and the same can definitely be said about the Lord of Wolves. So keep this universal flexibility in mind when I talk about the strengths of the Wraith Hunter, because a lot of you are going to be tempted to run 4 Wraith Hunters instead of having a good mix. I totally understand how 4 Wraith Hunters is pretty much the easiest, most effortless way to guarantee a very strong team composition, but it's not one of the strongest. I feel like there's a lot of these mixed builds that are significantly better than 4 Wraith Hunters. It's just nobody wants to put the time in to learn these classes like the back of their hand. So that tangent aside, let's move on to the ins and out of the Wraith Hunter. In weapon slot 1, you'll find the exotic shotgun, the Chaperone. This is a slug shotgun, so it fires a single projectile, and if you get a kill, you activate the Roadborne perk, which increases range and precision damage. In slot 2, you'll find the Not Forgotten. I'll suggest alternatives later, but this is a precision frame hand cannon, so it's accurate from the air and sports the Magnificent Howl perk, which allows you to 3-tap opponents with 3 consecutive headshots. And finally in slot 3, we have the Hammerhead machine gun, which is great for making the most out of those ammo crates. Did not mean to rhyme that. As for the armor on the helmet, you'll see we have precision weapon targeting, which improves target acquisition, accuracy, aim down sight speed for hand cannon, scout rifles, trace rifles, bows, linear fusion snipers, and slug shotguns. So 2 weapons that we're using. The rest of the armor is built around the shotgun playstyle, even with the impact induction bonus, which means melee attacks decrease grenade cooldowns. You also can't forget shotgun and flinching on the chest, and for exotic armor I'm opting to use Frosties here, though I won't deny that Stompies are equally useful. And I know you saw me put Quizenvest, or Guishenvest, however you pronounce it, as the exotic choice. And yes, that is the case, but most players just switch to the vest when they need it. I typically go for 3 super mods, 1 grenade mod, and 1 paragon mod to have the best mix between grenades, melees, dodges, and supers. The main perk you'll be worried about on the skill tree is going to be Flawless Execution, which means when you're crouched and you get a precision kill, it activates True Sight, which is essentially wall hacks temporarily, and makes you invisible. This is precisely why the exotic Stompy boots are so highly regarded. They extend slide distance, and if you're sliding, you're technically crouched, so you can activate Flawless Execution that much easier. Me personally, I prefer the Frosties because while sprinting, you get decreased cooldowns on your grenade and melee, which means you can use them more often. A Wraith Hunter will typically use both the grenade and the melee at the same time, called a Wombo combo, to soften up opponents or get the kill outright. If you pay attention to the background footage, my Wombo got him half, I cleaned him up with 2 headshots and Not Forgotten, activating Mag Howl, and then 2-tap again. When I was talking about the Frosties a second ago, I did not mention that they also decrease the dodge cooldown while you sprint. So on your boots, you can have Dynamo for decreased super energy if you dodge near an opponent, or you can have Bomber so it's even further decreased grenade cooldown. It doesn't really matter whatever exotic you use, it's all personal preference, whether you use Frosties, Stompies, Dragon Shadow, Graviton Forfeit, or even if you just use the Quizenvest the entire time. The bottom line is that the neutral game of the Wraith Hunter is superior. As you can tell by the background footage, I can see through the wall and easily line up headshots ahead of time, and my enemies can't do anything about it. This is extremely important in a team setting because if you can see through walls, you can tell your team where the enemies are. Again, it doesn't surprise me that there are team compositions out there of 4 Spectral Blades. The thinking being, why not have 4 chances to activate this very powerful perk? But if you recall in previous episodes of this team composition series, I talked about how the Lunafaction Rift can extend the range of weapons, Chaperone included, so it makes activating Flawless Execution that much easier. Check the footage on screen.
There you go.
So a Chaperone will confidently kill your opponent within 14.5-ish meters, and then it will activate the Roadborne, which then you can go back to like 16 meters and still easily pick up a kill. But even without the Roadborne, when you stand in an empowering Lunafaction Rift, you can shit on people from ranges that you just have to see the footage on screen to understand.
Let's take the place. I'm gonna let Roadborne expire. Now I'm gonna be 19. Holy shit, that's without Roadborne.
Go on well. Yeah,
After you drop it, at this point.
Yeah, after you drop it. Now switch it.
Yeah.
Sides is dead. Camellia is dead. Holy
That's
fuck.
Yeah, I wasn't kidding. The Chaperone is a Maparone when you combine it with a Lunafaction Rift. I'm sure seeing all this footage by now has inspired somebody to try this build if they haven't already. And you might be thinking to yourself, but Cammy, I don't own a Not Forgotten, so what am I supposed to use? Here's your answer. You could use the Waking Vigil hand cannon, which is obtained from the Dreaming City. This is a 150 RPM hand cannon and can have the opening shot perk to make landing headshots that much easier. The recommended role for dealing with a Not Forgotten is going to be slide shot, opening shot, and ricochet rounds for more range, but if you can't get lucky with the Waking Vigil, maybe you can get lucky in the raid for a Nation of Beast hand cannon. This one has opening shot and kill clip, and you'll see me switch to a age-old Bond auto rifle with dynamic sway, ricochet rounds, and kill clip yet again. The playstyle of an auto rifle definitely comes with some pros and cons, but you could totally make this work in the competitive playlist. But if I had to recommend any weapon, it would be the Kindled Orchid because of the Disruption Break perk. The way the perk works is that if you break a shield of an enemy, then kinetic damage is improved, so it makes your teammate's job of cleaning up kills easier, or your own job of killing a super with the Chaperone. You know, the crazy part about this video so far is that I haven't even mentioned the super. So you'd figure that with a name like Spectral Blades that when you're in your super, you run around with some blades. Wrong. When you pop your super, your character wields refrigerators because that seems to be the hit distance of these supposed Spectral Blades. Do I even have to talk about this super? Okay, I'll do it because you clicked on the video, and I appreciate your YouTube subscription. So here we go. While invisible in the super, you get increased damage resistance. Don't know why that's a thing. You're already invisible, you're off the radar. Oh wait, you also get wallhax with the super, so you can see through the wall, and the duration of the super is crazy on top of wielding refrigerators for blades. So in other words, it's really easy to use if you're a semi-confident player, because you can see through the wall, you're off radar, you're invisible, so if you're dealing with a counter super or a shutdown super, all you gotta do is bait them with the knowledge that you can see them through the wall. If you could tell through the wall that you'd run into otherwise death, then you could just tell your teammates to do the dirty work for you. If you see that the enemies are focused on you, tell your teammates to push in. If the enemy is focused on your team, then push in. I see this as the perfect opportunity for this little PSA. If you know the enemy is a Spectral Blades and activates Flawless Execution, whether that's through a headshot or through using its super, you need to act temporarily like an idiot. You need to fake being an idiot. So here's how you do this. You need to create a situation that is way too enticing, way too juicy for the Spectral Blades to resist. For example, you could tell your team to all move one direction. From the Spectral Blade's perspective, he'll be telling his team that your team is rotating. By the time you feel that this information has been given, that's when you tell your team to stop the rotation, turn around, and go back the opposite direction, seemingly towards danger. And what'll happen is, that will be the Spectral Blades you're running towards, who is on a flank. This doesn't work perfectly every time, but as long as everybody's mentally prepared for it, you can put in shots and definitely team shot them to death, or if you're worried that's too elementary of a strategy, then you could double fakie by doing what I just said, but then returning to that original map movement. Now, in a rumble scenario when you're dealing with a Wraith, you have to temporarily be stupid when they have flawless execution active. Remember that they can see your every move, so you have to be too juicy for them to resist, and you can do this by approaching a corner and then just stopping. Listen, if you hear movement as soon as you bait that corner, you know that they're there. If you don't hear anything, they're either being very patient or they're not there. A lot of the time, I'll sprint full speed towards a corner and then 180 and head the opposite direction as soon as I'm at the edge of that corner. And a lot of the time, it's too juicy of a situation for a Spectral Blades to resist. They will pre-fire that corner, giving themselves away and removing their invisibility. They still have wall hacks, but at least the invisibility's gone. The best thing you can do for dealing with a Spectral Blade is just to listen. There are ample sound cues in this game, and for this upcoming clip, I'm about to boost the hell out of it. Tell me if you hear a hunter land from a jump, you hear the audible sound of a hunter's voice actor, and then use game sense and think from their perspective for a second, and look at how I react to it.
Let's not die to a snipe. I heard a jump to my right. Yep. Here he is.
It's very difficult to teach that sort of thing, so pay attention. I really want you guys to pay attention in the Crucible so that we don't get a plague of Spectral Blades next season. I hate dealing with them. I'm sure you hate dealing with them. The best way to make people not play it is to learn how to beat them, or at least to mitigate their effectiveness. The real strength of this subclass comes from activating flawless execution off of a lesser player, and then using all those advantages to beat a greater player. By working hard to never be that lesser player, then there's going to be less and less Spectral Blades that you have to deal with because they're not activating flawless execution because nobody is ever giving them the opportunity. I mean, take the fact that before the Spectral Blades were buffed in their super, nobody really played the class. I enjoyed it for its neutral game. I threw the super away. My teammate Drewski would actually activate his super at the start of rounds just to tell us where the enemies were going. And that was back in the day when the super didn't even swipe correctly, when it shortstopped 5 times in a row, when even using it on another super was suicide. With the One-Eyed Mask and the Titan Skating nerfed, I see players gravitating towards the next easiest thing, which is going to be Spectral Blades, if not for the neutral game, then for the super. So, I don't want to deal with this. Smoke grenades on their own are kind of annoying, but the whole subclass, something's gotta change. While I don't know exactly what that is, I would rather the Spectrals be taken down to relative strength rather than everything else being moved up. I feel that if that were to happen, this game would be more about ability usage and super usage than gunplay, even though, as of now, it kind of is like that. You'll see that most players gravitate towards having multiple super mods and playing the super game rather than focusing on gunplay. That, of course, is my personal opinion. That is what I find fun in this game, is using the guns. But Destiny 2 has a history of purely having gunplay. It was early Destiny 2, and it didn't really resonate with the community. All that I'm getting at is that early Destiny 2, the ratio of gunplay to ability abuse was bad. Now, I feel that the opposite problem has happened. So maybe there is some middle ground that makes Destiny feel the most like Destiny. I'm sure having special weapons deal with supers just a little bit better is a start. I'm sure taking super mods out of the game entirely or significantly reducing their influence on the game is also a start. Just let me know what you think in the comment section. I've sort of given up on the idea of balance in this game, and I totally understand what most players look for when they play Destiny. They look for the experience that makes them feel powerful without really working towards it. Tell me in the comment section if I'm wrong for thinking that, but the history of the game is there. You can go back, look at archived Twitter posts, you can look at old Destiny footage and compare those side to side on what players had at the time and what they were asking for more of. But I don't want to argue with you guys, I just want to get my perspective out there and leave it be. You don't have to agree with it, I don't have to agree with yours. Let's just let each other enjoy what they enjoy. But by saying that, that doesn't mean that I'm not open to listening to your perspective. Let me know in the comment section what you find fun about Destiny so that I can reshape my own perspective. And worst case, Destiny continues on this trend of making abilities obnoxious with gunplay second, and I jump ship and maybe play some Halo Infinite where the atmosphere is totally different, built upon more or less the better player winning. But that's going way off topic. This tangent was started because I was talking about the Wraith Hunter and how it applies to a team of 4 in the competitive playlist, but because of how obnoxious the Wraith Hunter has been in the game lately, this has spiraled into now me complaining about the game, and I'm just gonna end that here. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, thanks for your feedback in the comment section below, and I will always continue to improve myself and improve the videos that you see on this channel. Thank you so much. See you in the next one.